There is actually a distinct possibility in the 1990s for this to happen. In 1992, after the fall of the Soviet Union, the KMT government in Taiwan releases the blueprint for national reunification with the aim of building a China that is free, democratic, and with equalized wealth. And mainland China responded by proposing the leader of Taiwan will become the vice president of PRC. However, the talks eventually fell apart, and Taiwan has since drifted towards maintaining the status quo, which only reinforces the de facto independence. The reason is actually because the KMT by the 1990s has all but abandoned the Leninist ideological core and has become an electoral party. Therefore, the more interesting question will be what will happen to China if the Nationalist Party retains power after 1949. I don't think the case of India or Latin America actually applies to China, because the Congress Party negotiated India's independence by essentially inheriting the British colonial structure, while Latin America has already become independent by the early 19th century, and political factions like PRI are merely the manifestations of the oligarchy that has risen since then. But the case of China is totally different. China is under the competing influence of multiple colonial powers, and for the KMT to retain power after 1945, there are only two paths forwards. The first is by adopting a social democratic lines and engages in the same policy that the CPC has been advocating. However, even if they have succeeded in doing so, it will almost certainly guarantee the rise of a more pro-American factions and overthrow the KMT in a violent military coup d'etat. That is exactly what happened in Indonesia under Sukarno and Iran under Mossadegh. Alternatively, the KMT could retain power by doubling down on the religious nationalists as well as the proto-fascist elements within the party, and that is actually their only viable constituency in 1940s. But in that scenario, it will make the nationalist China closer to the Islamic Republic of Iran under Khomeini.